Okay. So just state your name.
Tyler Stewart, T.Y.
All right, Tyler. How old are you?
30 years old on a dot.
Okay. So what are you majoring in?
Audio video production.
How long have you been on the audio video track? Like
In life, about 14 years since I was about 16,
16.
doing
How
some
did you?
recording.
What got you into it?
Trying to get a couple bucks off an opportunity that was there. Had some friends that did a lot of like beat battles and local MC battles, and we try to do like local circuit stuff. And they wanted to make demos, and every time they'd go somewhere, they'd either get ripped off or it'd be garbage. And I went out and bought a little 4-track tape recorder and a mic and started charging them, and I haven't stopped since.
Right.
Still got that 4-track too.
So, as you progressed, you kind of started to gain more of an appreciation for it, or did it? Was
I think
it
I
always still the same?
always had a lot more interest in it than I had ability for it, and I still am more interested than I am able.
Right.
So I am still like a little kid, and like I'm at school all the time, whether I'm here at school or I'm somebody's studio that's better than me, or I'm just talking to somebody that's got some knowledge I can pull from. I'm not as good as I want to be yet, and I've been doing it for a long time. I'm actually pretty good. In the community I run with, I'm the one they look to for advice, but I still have an interest that is going to be there. I got a lot more desire for it than I have ability for it still.
Right. So, do you charge people still to use your recording, or do you have a studio?
Oh yeah. I run a studio with a partner over in the middle of Roselawn.
Is it big? Is it popular?
We've got on purpose it's not. I work for a couple of guys that have larger scale studios, and I do side work for them, or I'll do engineering. But the studio that I run is me and a friend, and it's private. And we don't have a signage out front. We don't have a public phone number listed. We've just got a lot of nice equipment ducked off in a building that's unassuming. Right. And we do all of our personal stuff there. Like if I get a project for some commercial and somebody wants me to take some tracks they've already got, make them better, get them up to quality, and then stream them out for them, I'll take it to my studio. Or if I've got friends that are any good at all, I'll kind of take them under my wing and take them to my studio instead of having them go down the block somewhere that's much lower quality equipment and engineer and pay, a lot more.
So do you want to, would you like to, even if you get better, would you like to continue on that same track? Or?
In a way, I'm always going to keep a private spot. And then if I get the means to launch a spot that's really going to be feasible to make money, I would do it. But I really have, I've ran some sort of business for myself my whole life, my whole professional life since I've been young. I've been in and out of the joint a few times, and I took a non-traditional route, but I never stopped working for myself. I always had something in the works where I was doing my own thing.
Right.
So I'm always going to have
your own little side hustle.
My own, yeah, right. And then, but on top of that, because of that, I've learned that there's really no point in starting a business if you can't see it through to the level that you expect it to be. So I hold off for that reason. I can pay my bills and live the style of life I'd want to, the standard of living that I want right now by doing what I'm doing. So until the day comes where I've got the means to really launch a studio correctly, which in this day and age is getting harder to do.
Right.
It's much harder to do right now than even 10 years ago when I was recording guys.
Competition.
Yeah, man. And a computer is $300, $400 with recording programs. You could just get a hacked version of something. Go get a $50 mic, and with any type of tinkering and desire to make good music, you can. So a lot of dudes just, their buddy bought a computer, they bought the mic, they're not coming to the studio. And then if they get discovered by anybody worth, paying for their service, somebody that's going to develop them and put the money into it, they're going to go to the studios that have been established for 30 years.
Right.
The 3 big studios in the world get all that business. I don't think I would ever want to launch a large public studio without the proper backing, or if I hit the lottery. If I could drop $1 million up front and then recoup it over 10 years,
right,
that makes sense. But in this environment, anything less is bound to fail.
Okay, so you're more on the engineering side other than the recording and production?
Yeah, I am an engineer. I'm a recording artist at times if I have to do field work. I mean, I play a lot of instruments and I can put sounds where they need to be if that's required, but that's not really what I do. I engineer a lot more than anything. I'm a certified recording engineer since '07, but I'm a practicing recording engineer since 96, 97. So I've played the role of recording engineer for a long time, but I've been certified and educated in it for quite a while now also. And I am certified at like being a mix down and a mastering tech and all those things, and a production assistant or a production, like lead production on a crew or something like that, but only because I went to the school for it, not because that's my thing. Since I've learned those tools, I've hardly used them. I'll do somebody's mix on the way out if they're a friend and it sounds like garbage. I do it as a favor to just help them. Right. But not as a paid job. I have somebody that I deal with that's better than I am, and I will let him take the work and then sit in and try to learn. But I'm not a real after the fact guy. I bring in real good raw tracks, and the equipment I have now is good enough for what I want, but I'm always trying to get better equipment so that I can be a better recording engineer. It'll open up, it opens up the frame.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Should I introduce?
No,
Okay. Who have you locally helped produce? What names? I may know some of them.
My God. Over the years, the only people that I've produced that are local or that do anything locally on a music level would be a lot of hip hop guys in mid 2000s. I've done some work with like Showtime, Kay Riley, Musa, a lot of the guys that were Garnett affiliated, and a lot of the guys that were Aristocrat affiliated before both of those labels kind of had their troubles, you'd say. Did a lot of work with in the rock and roll scene, a band called the Harlequins that still tour right now, that started in Cincy. They do well. They're good guys too. They're actually friends of mine. We, outside of just the music, they're good people, and a lot of times that's the way it is. If you work with somebody more than a handful of times, you either stop working with them or become buddies, because music is kind of it is an art. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if you artistically aren't on the same page, usually as people aren't, you're gonna mesh. You're not gonna. And in the studio, I don't know how some people do it, but I know how I do it. We get real personal. Your personal tastes and vices and things come out because it's 3 a.m. You've been together for 4 or 5 straight hours. If you're a smoker, if you're a drinker, if you like to have women around or whatever it is, that comes out after those 4 or 5, 6 hours straight. Just that's the way it happens. So as far as local artists and names, not too many. That's like a list of credits to list, but local guys that are never going to go anywhere and know that and just come and want a demo to bump on their block. I have thousands over the years now. That's my main clientele, is a neighborhood guy who spits in a cipher and they, oh man, you're nice, you got to get an album. They come to me or they come to a friend and they refer them to me. And I bring them in the studio, we make them like a 5-song demo, and they go do nightclub stuff, or they just pass it out to their buddies or sell it. And another couple of guys, if I can think of some names from back then when I was dealing with those 2 labels. I think his name was Damari. He did stuff with Garnett for a while. Kenny P. He was somebody who did some stuff in Cincinnati. I did some work through his guys and with him a couple times. Who else? Evil E, I think his name was. He was a Aristocrat guy. P. Sizzle. I remember him well. He was a goofball. He was a good dude, though. Trying to think of some of the names. Oh, who was the singing cat? Tayway. Dunny. Young Dunny or Ducky. I think Dunny was one of them. He was a singer with him. A bunch of the guys, though, that were from that era. The mid 2000s. Some of them are still doing stuff. Yeah. Most of them aren't. Or if they are, it's the same level it was in '07, just like regional or local. But I've made a living, not necessarily a career, but a living off of local, in the sense of neighborhood or block, not city or regional. So the short list is all guys that are basically your common group that everybody knows in Cincinnati, because they all network in the same small circle. So once you do a song for one guy, you end up working with like that group of people. So that's about it.
So if someone comes to you and they say they want to put together this 5-song track, how much do you charge usually?
I got a very wide rate. It's very negotiable with me. But if I just had to quote a standard rate, I'd say about $50 an hour for my time, and probably anywhere from $300 to $500 up front for just the right to come around and record. Because what's going to happen is a guy will come to me and say, let me record these 5 songs, and ask me an hourly rate. If I quote them a friendly $25 an hour, they'll have the ambition to record 10 songs in 5 hours and have the workflow of something I don't want to come out of my studio. I don't want coming off of my hand with my name on it.
Right.
So to kind of scare away that type of activity, I quote pretty high, and then I'm very open. So realistically speaking, somebody could come to me with $500 and a good work ethic, and regardless of the time we have to put in, I'll get them their 5 songs. But if somebody comes to me and says they want to record something and I quote them a high number, and they put down a couple bucks and then they record a song or 2 and I never see them again, it's going to be twice as much next time they want to finish that album. You know what I mean?
Right.
So realistically, I have a very wide open swinging scale, and if I see the right qualities in somebody, I don't charge them. I just charge them by them bringing the best they have to the table, and I expect that from them, and the time's on me. So I've done that before too. So really, a very easy fixed rate though, that I quote anybody that asks that I don't know or that I don't really care to work with, is $50 and a few hundred up front. So if somebody comes to me that very first day and they've got a great sound and they really have an idea of what they want, it's developed, and we could communicate about it, I kind of throw my standard rates out the window and go from there.
Right.
Because I own all my equipment, I own my space, so it's not like that's one of the reasons I don't have a big studio or an advertisement budget or anything like that, or employees or anything like that, is so I don't have pressure to pay the bills. I own what I own. I can do what I do and make decisions based on art and artistic value rather than time and money. So it's a very swinging scale, to answer the question.
Seems as if you already established yourself in a place where you're comfortable and you can do what you need to do, how you want to do, and all of that. So it's been a kind of a good interview, short but sweet.
Good. Well, I'm glad I could give you the time.
Thank you for your time.
No problem. Good luck to all your listeners.
Danke für Time, signing out.
Oh.